Welcome in everyone to the fantasy football starts and sits of the week. We're heading into week 13 of the NFL season. Starting off with a quarterback start of the week, it is Tua Tagovailoa coming off of a not so great performance against the New York Jets. Jets defense is one of the best in the NFL. 2 interceptions, 243 yards, and only 9 fantasy points. But a better week is yet to come. I know that there's a lot of quarterbacks on the bye. If you have Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, or many others that are on the bye heading into week 13. Tua Tagovailoa is definitely one of the top quarterbacks to look at this week as he has the Washington Commanders. The Commanders ranked 32nd in defense versus opposing quarterbacks, so this is a very good matchup. We saw last week we went after Dak Prescott against that same Commanders defense. Dak had 32 points. We'll see if Tua can have the same success. But I don't really expect Tua. He had a down week. The Dolphins were able to score 34 points in that win. So I think that going up against the Commanders defense that is really good against the rush, but struggles in their secondary. I think that Tua Tagovailoa with the weapons that he has around them. So plug in Tua if you have one of those quarterbacks, like I mentioned previously, that are on the bench or on the bye week heading into week number 13. Next up, let's go to the running back start of the week, and it is Ramondre Stevenson. Stevenson has been one of the bright spots on what has been an awful Patriots team this season. Stevenson coming off a game where he had a touchdown. Look at that, 21 attempts too. So this is really, man, it has been really fed in this offense. Going up against the Chargers defense, Chargers have been up and down. They have a lot of talent on all three levels of their defense. They had a really good performance last night against the Baltimore Ravens. So I know that, looking at the Patriots offense, it isn't great. Only scoring 7 points against the Giants. The lone touchdown was Ramondre Stevenson. But I think that the Patriots will continue to feed Ramondre Stevenson. And if they're going to be able to score against this Chargers team, they have to run the football effectively. So Ramondre Stevenson, not only can he do it on the ground, he can do it through the air or the receiving game. So I think that this is a good game. Probably going to be more low-scoring games. Probably won't be many touchdowns scored for the Patriots, but if it is, look for Ramondre Stevenson to pick up one of those touchdowns. So start Ramondre Stevenson with confidence this week, and also start Amon-Ra St. Brown with confidence. The Lions, they got humbled on Thanksgiving against the Packers. They go on the road to a very struggling New Orleans Saints team. It's in Caesars Superdome. But, looking at this Lions offense, even in the loss, Amon-Ra had a good game, 95 yards. He didn't get a touchdown, but still 18.5 fantasy points if you play in PPR. The Saints do rank 7th in fantasy, so they are a top 10 defense when going up against wide receivers. But the Saints, if you look at what the Saints defense has been, they've really been struggling. I know that Tyrann Mathieu had those 2 interceptions, but outside of that, Marshawn Lattimore, he's not in the mix. He's on the IR, so he's going to be missing the next 3 games. And then outside of that, you got Paulson Adebo, Alontae Taylor, and then also Tyrann Mathieu and Marcus Mayer, your 2 safeties. So I think that the Lions get back on track here. I don't even think that this game's going to be close. I think the Lions go into New Orleans and really flex their muscles against the Saints defense. So I think that Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be one of those receivers that you look at going into this week. I think that he's definitely going to be a stud against the Saints defense. They've been a little bit reeling in the past couple of weeks. So especially against the Falcons, Drake London, he had a successful game against them. I think Amon-Ra can do the same. So those are your starts of the week. Let's move on now to the sits of the week. Let's go to Geno Smith. Geno Smith, he had a tough matchup on Thursday against the Niners. Doesn't get any easier as he has to go to the Dallas Cowboys defense. The Cowboys defense is one of the top scoring defenses in fantasy. And Geno Smith in this offense, they struggled to score the football against the Niners. I think that's going to continue against the Dallas team that's really one of the best in the NFC. I know that the Eagles, they're on top. Lions, you could be in that mix, but I think that the Cowboys are right there with them, especially their defense. I think that Geno Smith will continue to struggle, so find a better quarterback if you have one on your bench to substitute Geno Smith this upcoming week. Moving on to the running back sit of the week, let's go to Dameon Pierce. This is a good matchup on paper. The Denver Broncos, they're ranked 32nd overall in fantasy against the running back position. the Broncos defense has been playing. They've been going up and up and up every week. This is why they're on, a couple of game win streak here. Dameon Pierce, he's been in it's been a running back by committee. You have Devin Singletary there, Dameon Pierce. Not so great performance for Pierce against the Jaguars. The Jaguars' rush defense is really tough. Broncos will be a little bit lighter. Really, that's really where you can get your bread and butter. But I think that C.J. Stroud, the way that he's been playing, with Tank Dell there, he's been balling out for fantasy teams. So I can't really trust Dameon Pierce. I do like this matchup for Houston running backs, but you just can't really trust him. We'll see if he has a big game. If this is going to be the game, if you drafted Dameon Pierce in the early rounds, if you're a fantasy draft, this is probably where you plug him in. But if you have a better option, I would sit Dameon Pierce this week against the Broncos defense. Last but not least, let's go to the wide receiver sit of the week, and it is Drake London versus the Jets. London, he's coming off of an effective game. Here, I put on the wrong stat, so sorry about that. Drake London, he had 14 points, fantasy points if you play in a PPR league. This week, though, he gets the Jets. The Jets defense, you saw what they did against Miami's defense. Miami was able to score 34 points more on the running game, but Tyreek Hill, he was able to get a touchdown. Jalen Waddle also had an effective game. But I think, with the Falcons, they had a pretty good game against the Saints. Desmond Ridder, he had a couple of touchdown passes. Drake London, he had an effective game. But I think that this is the game where it's probably going to be a low-scoring battle. The Falcons' defense is starting to play well, too. Jets' defense, their secondary is really elite. So stay away from Drake London. Try to find a better option, like I always say here. So that is your starts and sits heading into week number 13 of the NFL season.